Meghan Markle steps into view once again, poised and composed during her visit to Swinburne University of Technology. The setting is thoughtful, centered on youth mental health, a cause that carries weight and urgency. Yet, as cameras capture the moment, attention quietly shifts, not to her words, but to a subtle detail in her appearance. Semi-sheer black tights, a simple choice, almost forgettable at first glance. But context changes everything. This is not merely about hosiery, it is about memory, about statements once made, and about how easily small details can reopen larger conversations. The image lingers because it contrasts so sharply with something Meghan herself once emphasized. Not long ago, she spoke candidly about the constraints of royal life, describing certain expectations as inauthentic. Among them, the requirement to wear pantyhose stood out. It was framed as symbolic of a system that felt outdated, something she associated with a loss of personal voice. And yet now, in a completely different chapter of her life, the same category of clothing quietly reappears, this time by choice. Public statements have a way of staying alive long after they are spoken. Meghan's remarks about pantyhose were not offhand comments lost in passing conversation. They were deliberate, reflective, and widely circulated. She described the experience as something that did not align with her sense of self, even recalling how distant the item felt, almost like a relic from another era. That framing matters, because it positioned pantyhose as more than just a wardrobe element. It became a symbol of restriction, of expectation, of a role that required adaptation. So when those same visual cues resurface today, it naturally invites comparison. The tights she now wears may differ slightly in tone, darker rather than nude, but the category remains unchanged. And with that, the earlier narrative begins to feel less clear-cut than it once did. The distinction between obligation and choice sits at the center of this quiet debate. During her time within the royal structure, dress codes were often interpreted as part of a broader institutional identity. Many saw them as tradition, others as limitation. Meghan's criticism leaned toward the latter, suggesting that these expectations diminished authenticity. But what changes when the same choice is made freely? Without protocol, without expectation, the meaning shifts. The tights are no longer imposed, they are selected. And that shift invites a different question altogether. Not whether the item itself is restrictive, but whether the earlier discomfort was truly about the garment or about the context surrounding it. Even during her time as a royal, the narrative was not entirely rigid. Meghan was seen on multiple occasions without tights, including high-profile moments. The rule, if it existed, was not absolute, which makes the current contrast feel less like a simple reversal and more like a layered contradiction. Looking back, the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. Before entering royal life, Meghan had worn tights without controversy. During her time within it, she alternated between following and quietly bending the supposed rules. After stepping away, she openly criticized those same expectations. And now, she returns to a similar aesthetic, this time integrated into her personal brand. There is also the lingering memory of her wedding, a moment steeped in tradition. Reports suggested a divergence from established norms regarding the bridesmaid's attire, particularly the absence of tights. It was a small detail, but one that drew attention precisely because it broke from expectation. In hindsight, it adds another layer to the evolving narrative, one where consistency seems less defined, more fluid. What emerges is not a single contradiction, but a series of choices that shift depending on context. Each decision, taken alone, might seem insignificant. Together, they form a pattern that invites scrutiny. In the end, this is not truly about tights. It never was. The conversation persists because it touches on something more enduring: consistency. When public figures speak strongly against something and later appear to embrace it, even in a slightly altered form, it creates a natural tension. People notice, they compare, they question. Meghan Markle's evolving relationship with something as ordinary as pantyhose becomes, in this light, a reflection of a broader dynamic: how narratives are shaped, reshaped, and sometimes contradicted over time. The details may be small, but their implications are not. And as the images continue to circulate, one thing remains certain: even the simplest choices can carry echoes of the past.